Number 132. There is no alternative, or Tina.
Tina. Tina. 132. There is no alternative. Also, love it or leave it. Fallacy. Get over it. Suck it up. It is what it is. Actions, elections have consequences. Or the fait accompli. Or accompli. Whatever. A very common contemporary extension of the either or fallacy, in which someone in power quashes critical thought by announcing that there is no realistic alternative to a given standpoint, status, or action, arbitrarily ruling any and all other options out of bounds, or announcing that a decision has been made and any further discussion is insubordination, disloyalty, treason, disobedience, or simply a waste of precious time when there's a job to be done. See also taboo, finish the job. Tina is most often a naked power play, a slightly more sophisticated variety of argumentum ad baculum. See also appeal to closure. Wow. Um, hmm. I definitely don't do this now. I'm very open to people's ideas. I'm trying to think of like if I had temporary extension,
I
fallacy.
knew someone that would commonly use the catchphrase "It is what it is," or is "C'est la vie" the same kind of thing, or is that something different?
C'est la vie is like seize the day, basically.
That's different.
So it's different.
Um, I thought that's what carpe diem is.
Mm-mm-mm.
Carpe diem is seize the day.
My car-
Oh yeah, c'est la vie is like that's life.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So "C'est la vie" would be this. So yeah, they'd say C'est la vie" or "It is what it is," and I'm like, except when it isn't. Like they we have the power to change things, but this person, their name was Joe, and um they had a rough life, and in my opinion it was all things that were like preventable, but they felt like they didn't have the power to change it, and so they just didn't try.
Yeah.
And they would commonly say, "It is what it is. I can't do anything about it." And I'm like, "Yes, you can. Just do, yeah, yes, you can." And yeah, it sucks. I wonder what in their conditioning, whether it be a relationship or how they grew up, that like taught them there's nothing you can do. Stop trying. Um, yeah, that sucks.
I have well, I could think of a few examples, but one example is with this recent election. Um I there was someone I wanted to vote for governor of California, but he doesn't follow like the traditional two-party uh system, which I'm not gonna rant about that on here, um but yeah, and I was like t talking to my parents about it, and then my dad like automatically shut it down and was like, that would never happen. He could never win. And I'm like, until he does, like like if we want to get rid of certain systems, like we have to be the change, you know? Like like
Yeah.
he wouldn't say exactly like it is what it is, but like it would kind of like be implied because he would just be like, we
Yeah.
live in a two-party system and that's just how it is. And it's like,
Yeah, that is he is doing his
okay,
best. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think I've always kind of lived in. And by the way, I realize this whole thing behind me. We have a friend staying over. This isn't my stuff, but uh, I think I've kind of actively lived to reject this. So to me, it's like I've never accepted it is what it is. And well, I shouldn't say that. I think I've always been someone who's wanted to oppose this, but in particular, especially after joining Vector, and then in particular after going to Unleash the Power Within in 2017, then it like drove the nail into this one. It was like you can make anything the way you want it at any time. And so to me, it's like it's always been kind of against my value system to believe things are what they are. So I'd say this one isn't one that I have engaged with, not consciously at least.
Try to think of maybe like a scientific example where I would say something like this. If somebody wants to argue against like the speed of light, um,
Oh.
I would I would probably be like, no, it's impossible. Like I think whenever people try to argue that like there could be something faster than the speed of light, I truly just think they don't understand like physics. Because they would know that time would, as you approach the speed of light, time slows down to the point where you could never reach it. It's not, it would take more than all the energy in the universe to ever reach the speed of light. And it's not possible to achieve. And that is what it is. It's a law of physics. So is that a fallacy? Um, maybe, because like maybe there is another thing out there that we can do a shortcut kind of a thing instead of like traveling. It's you take a wormhole or something. So like, should that be investigated? I guess so, but I don't know. There are some things that I feel like I've said this with, but I don't know that you could say that they're invalid. One thing that is there's not many things in science that we're pretty concrete about. We're pretty open to things being changing, or open to change. But one thing that I do know is like the highest level of certainty of completion is the periodic table. Um, there is nothing smaller. There's no matter that's smaller than hydrogen, because hydrogen is just one proton, and that's it. And you can't get smaller than one proton. And then all the elements are defined by how many protons they have. And then the biggest ones um, have to be synthetically fused, because the bigger the atom is, the faster they fall apart. And so the biggest ones in the periodic table will only exist for like just a few milliseconds before they immediately fall apart. So there's no practical application to the biggest ones in the periodic table. And then after that, you just can't get matter to fuse, because the force that holds atoms together actually has a range of how big it can hold it together. And so after a certain point, there's too many protons for the strong nuclear force to hold it together. So it is literally physically impossible to get an atom bigger than that. And so like in that context, I would say the periodic table is what it is. And like that is what it is. Like there is no what if this or what if it's smaller or bigger. It's not actually possible. We're pretty confident on that one, that field of science is complete. We know the periodic table. That is how it is. So yeah. Is that a fallacy to say that? Periodic table, I don't know. I'm pretty confident that we have that one figured out. But I don't know. Otherwise, I would say like you shouldn't blanketly say it is what it is to basically like everything. I guess like laws of physics might be an exception. I don't know, but even then, most of the time, I would say keep an open mind. I'm curious if Alan has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, for me, like the thought that came in was like, well, I guess maybe in three-dimensional space, all those things apply. Like those are the bits and pieces and the rules in three-dimensional space. But if you alter and you start to think about four-dimensional space, five-dimensional space, or you think about like literally like different spaces that have different structures and all of that, then then it would definitely then the rules might change. It's like if there are like, speed of light, when you're mentioning, you can't argue with this thing in the speed of light. I was like, well, maybe in three-dimensional space, sure, maybe that's a possibility. But in, four-dimensional space, five-dimensional space, perhaps that would be different, and perhaps it functions differently. Or like, in cases of wormholes where space and gravity, all that gets folded on itself, and all of a sudden you can cross massive distances instantaneously. Like, does that, again, in three-dimensional space, that still doesn't break the rule about you can't go faster than the speed of light, because you're still within three-dimensional space. You're just traveling between 2 points. But then ultimately the ability to do that, the ability to create a bend in space-time such that you can cross something like that quickly, is that a three-dimensional concept, or is it a four-dimensional concept? And if it's a four-dimensional or
It'd be
five-dimensional concept, yeah. If it's a four-dimensional concept, then at that point, that means that the idea that the speed of light cannot be surpassed is only a three-dimensional concept, because in a four-dimensional concept, the rules change.
Okay.
So,
Well, hold up. The fourth dimension is time, and then three is space. So when you say four dimensional, you are talking about space time. And in space time, no, you're right. Yeah,
yeah.
because you can slow down the speed of light. You just can't go faster than it. Um, you can make light travel slow enough that you could get ahead of it. You can do that. But without slowing it down, you can't go faster than it, if that makes sense. But yeah, Alan is kind of saying the same thing I already said as well. But yeah, I'm glad we agree on that.